French and Indian War. The mid-18th century saw a lot of exploration, especially in North America, and the huge land was enticing to many European countries as a place to expand their territories. Spain was exploring much of the southern regions of North America, along with certain areas of Central America. France was exploring northern parts of North America and Canada down through the Ohio River Valley and all the way down to the area now known as Louisiana. England was occupying the eastern part of North America with its colonies and interested in expanding westward. All the while, Native Americans were trying to hold their cultures strong on the land that they had lived off for hundreds, maybe thousands of years. The French and British both wanted the area that included the Ohio River Valley, or the Appalachian Mountain area. This area was rich in soil and fresh water, making it perfect for hunting and thus for fur trading. The map on the right shows which lands were under whose control at the time. Pink is British, light blue is French, and gray is Spanish. The French had good relations trading with the Indians, and they wanted to be able to continue this business relation. The English wanted to be able to expand their territories westward, gaining more land and expanding their control. When Britain declared war on the French for this land in 1754, the English government provided military help and supplies to the colonists, while the French government supplied military help and supplies to their settlers in the New France area on the map. The British colonists outnumbered the French colonists by at least 15 times as many people. Because most Native Americans sided with the French against the British to prevent westward expansion of the British colonists, it was called the French and Indian War. But most of the rest of the world calls it the 7 Years' War. One of the first acts of the war was when George Washington led troops to ambush a French-controlled area, mainly about an area in Ohio, Pennsylvania, and New York, where there are plenty of rivers and where the French Fort Duquesne was set up. A British general named Edward Braddock tried several times to attack the French in this area, but the Canadians helped with lookouts. The Native Americans were a strong force, and the British forces were growing weaker. England was becoming less interested in sending money and military reinforcements, as they were losing the battles. During this time, there was a massive breakout of smallpox, which the Native Americans had no immunity to because they had never been exposed to it. There was not enough medicine to go around, and many of them died from this disease. William Pitt, an Englishman, decided to put together an English military force to help give a second wind to the battle. Between William Pitt and Ethan Allen, who did not work together well, but were able to each put together fairly large groups of men willing to fight, they were able to conquer Quebec and ultimately much of the other land that Britain was after. Britain eventually lost Quebec, and it became part of Canada, but it did hold on to the land it was originally after to make westward expansion possible for the colonists. This created many battles between the English colonists and the Native Americans as the colonists tried to gain land moving west, and the Native Americans tried to defend it from settlement. Most of the fighting between the French and the British had ended by 1860, although the war between these countries was still going on in Europe. There were still some smaller battles in North America between them, but the war officially ended in 1763 when England, France, and Spain all signed the Treaty of Paris. In this agreement, Spain gave up Florida to get Louisiana and Cuba. France gave up Louisiana to Spain and continental North American territory to have control of the Caribbean, and England took rights to the continental North American area they were fighting over in the first place. They agreed to let ships from any nation travel on the Mississippi River. The relations politically and economically for these European nations changed after this war, with England and France suffering financially for quite a while because of the expenses of their war efforts. Relations between the colonists and Native Americans also suffered after this war, as their battles for land, colonists trying to overtake it and Native Americans trying to defend it, continued for many years afterward. Because of this war and the financial deficit that it left England in, spurred England to raise and enforce taxes on the colonists. The colonists, who had fought long and hard for Britain, were not happy with this sudden increase and strict enforcement of taxes, such as the Sugar Act, the Molasses Act, and several others, and thus began the revolt against England. This marked the beginning of what would become the American Revolution.